Hey everyone, and thank you for clicking on this video in the first place. This is a short clip taken out of a full podcast episode that has been recently uploaded. If you want to see that full episode, I'm going to put it in a card in the top right of your screen right there, as there's a lot more talked about than just this short clip in the podcast episode. So I highly recommend you watch it. I highly recommend you subscribe so you never miss a full episode or clip if you prefer to watch the clips rather than the full hour to hour and a half long episodes. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you for clicking on it in the first place. There's people who are 10 years sober that fall back into it, right? But I don't see you doing that ever. And I'm not just saying that. But I genuinely don't, because like you have kids and you have a wife and you're not living for yourself anymore. Like I'm assuming you were when you were doing that stuff. It's like the negative things that you did in your life only visibly affected you negatively.
Yeah, well, they say addiction, people get addicted to drugs, and it's, there's like a famous AA saying, it's kind of like corny, but it's like, I don't have a opiate problem, I have a Dan problem. And there's some truth to that.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever you see a guy who has 3 years sober, 5 years sober, 8 years sober, and he gets high again, I mean, like, rewind the tape and go look at the last 12 months of this guy's life. Gambling, sex with hookers, lying, being a terrible father, not being a father at all, massive financial debt that he's not handling. There's always some sort of an issue that they haven't cleaned up. Mm-hmm. You don't just, a guy like, yeah, I won't relapse. I got my shit together. I'm not saying I couldn't fall back down that path, but if I continue to be a good husband, good father, live debt-free, build my business, do the right thing. I say I'm going to be here and do the podcast. I show up. I do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not just going to be like, you know what? I'm going to smoke crack today.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
It's like there's too much going for you now to throw away.
Right.
But when people don't have issues that they solve, they don't really have anything to lose going back to that lifestyle.
But you could be like, oh, what happened to Dan? He say we never talked for 5 more years. And then you find out, and you're like, wow, I never expected that. That's crazy. Then you're like, yeah, he started doing massive amounts of trenbolone and Anadrol, and he got really into the gym, and he got angry, and he beat the crap out of a guy outside of a bar while he was road raging, mm-hmm. So he went to jail, and his job fired him, and then his wife got pissed, and he ended up smacking his wife, so his wife left him, and you're like, oh, that's not even the same guy that was on the podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why. And that's a very extreme example. But there's a lot of little things like that what start to add up, and then it kind of goes back to the drugs.
Yeah.
Because I'm not afraid of the drugs, right? You've never done them, so maybe you wouldn't do it. I'm not really afraid of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, who am I to think I wouldn't do it again?
You've survived it plenty of times before, so.
Yeah, fentanyl's scary. There's no doubt about it. But
yeah.
If I were to relapse, I wouldn't be like, oh, man, we should, got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't care.
Yeah. This all goes back to the whole idea you said earlier where, like, in 2 years, especially 5 years, but even 2 years from now, everything that I'm saying right now, I'm going to be like, oh, I was an idiot.
Sure.
So that happens the opposite way too. People just change for the worse.